Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Manifesting with Meg, Conversations with Extraordinary People. I welcome you all to episode 60 tonight, Instructions for Living a Conscious Life. And I have an incredible guest tonight. I have Julian Hayes, and I can't wait to introduce you guys to him and learn all about all his magic of manifesting and all the magic in his life. Once again, this is the month of wisdom. It's March, people, time to march forward. It's a show about transformation, dreams, inspiration, true happiness, discovering bliss, and it's time to manifest the life of your dreams, realizing that bliss is not just an abstract idea, but an attainable state of being. And we're ready to wake up to a universe powered and packed with possibility. Hey, Julian, how are you?
Meg, I'm doing fantastic. I am excited about this. I can feel your energy already. So I'm doing great. Life is great.
After I met you, I was totally excited to have this interview with you. I know that you're going to bring so many wonderful tidbits of wisdom and, also so much to unfold and all about living a conscious life. And I want to remind everybody that this show is based on my book, The Magical Guide to Bliss. And we are on the March month of wisdom. It's 366 insights the day. I ask Julian to get intentional. We get intentional around the show. Pick a number. At the end of the show, we'll actually share your intention and you'll be reading from my book as to your number. So with that in mind, let's start out. I get to introduce this wonderful Julian Hayes II. He's not only an author, he's a human performance advisor. I know that gets really exciting because you're all going to wonder, what is that? He's also, one more, an epigenetic coach and the host of Optimal Health for Busy Entrepreneurs. His initial journey began in the pursuit of becoming a doctor. So there you go, people. If you're always wondering about how your calling is going to unfold, check out this story. You're going to love it. He left after 1 year to pursue an even bigger dream. Now he's the founder of The Art of Fitness and Life, where the mission is to help entrepreneurs. So all you entrepreneurs out there, listen up, and elite professionals, you guys too, upgrade their entire human system without the guesswork through leveraging unique DNA. This gets so crazy cool. Data-driven health metrics and personalized programming, an N of one personalized programming, and a performance team. I also said that he's a writer. Remember that. He's written 200 columns at Inc., along with frequently being published over at Entrepreneur Success, Chief Executive Business Insider, bodybuilding.com, and many more of the world's largest publications. And how lucky am I to have him tonight to talk about manifesting with Meg. And I'm sure you guys are going to understand at the end of the show that he is an extraordinary person. And it's so amazing that the theme tonight is living a conscious life, like I said, because, this guy is all about waking up, being aware of what those dreams are and following and fulfilling them. So without further ado, welcome, Julian. Did I miss anything? I don't want to, because clearly, you're amazing.
No, that perfectly summed me up. You hit everything.
So if I were to ask one of your family members, would they know who that was when I spoke about you before, or is it all you're like a mystery waiting to be unfolded?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the coffin right there. Yeah, it's like a mystery. I think when we think about family, it's they always see me as little Julian, and so it's like, he does this kind of writing stuff. It's pretty cool, but they still see me as little Julian, and so maybe it's like an alter ego. I am a Gemini. And I'm not too big into astrology, but people tell me that Geminis, there's two of us. And so I totally get that, because there is like I have like alter egos, and depending on if I'm writing or if I'm going for a run or if I'm around family. So I kind of get that. Maybe I got 3 personalities.
Okay, so everybody who's a Gemini out there, do you concur with Julian or not? I don't know. Let's find out a little bit more about him so that, we can all figure out what these Geminis are all about. I do have a Gemini in the family. My oldest sister is a Gemini, and she also is a mystery to be held, but yet she is definitely awesome as well. So anyway, well, let's go on. So we're talking tonight about living a conscious life, instructions for living a conscious life. And, the quote is actually from Mary Oliver, who's one of my favorite poets. She's fantastic. She unfortunately passed away, but she's left so much incredible work behind. And like I said at the outset, when we were talking before, one of my favorite statements that she has is, what will you do with this precious life? And it's like an invitation for you to start getting curious around what is it that you're going to do? How are you going to wake up? And this poem actually changed my life, because when I read it, she put into words how I truly want to live. And I know that many people who hear me speak are always like, there she goes again, but it's true. It's so simple. It's so simple. Pay attention, be astonished, and tell all about it. Pay attention to what's going on around you. Be astonished. I always say, get excited, get enthusiastic about what's unfolding, and then tell all about it. You got to tell your story. You got to share your story. Be vulnerable with your story. And that, in fact, will engage whoever needs to hear the message. So keeping that in mind, this is all about tuning into soul's purpose, remembering how as a child you were unencumbered by other people's opinions. You use these simple instructions that allow you to surrender to something wonderful that life has in store. And I know I said at the outset we're going to play tonight because I'm feeling a little playful. I want everyone to set their calendar for Friday at 12:30. And I want everyone to start paying attention to all that's happening around them. Get excited. And then you're going to tell us all about it. So I want you to also simplify your life so that it's worth living. Tell all about it so that it's worth sharing. And what are your thoughts about this, Julian?
You know, the Julian of a few years ago will probably tell you like this is a little too crazy for me.
I love it.
Because I was very anti a lot of the manifesting. I was just always pushing it away.
Okay, I gotta stop you. Why were you anti? I'm just curious. I always laugh because I think, you know, seeing the world certainly, you know, as powered with possibility, like I was saying before. What's scary or stupid about that? So when you're saying you're anti-manifesting, what was it that you were anti?
You know, I really think it's a perspective, because if you think about it, I was always manifesting. I manifested myself to talk to you right now, to be in this exact position right now, to have everything that I have in my life right now. I manifested it. I just didn't consciously know that I was actually manifesting. I thought things were just happening by accident.
Oh,
but I would be thinking of a lot of things like, oh, you know, it would be nice to have this. It would be nice if I could start doing this. And surely, slowly but surely, it comes up. So I think the biggest thing for me was really just starting to be open to the possibility that maybe everything's not just luck, but you're actually bringing this into your world by consciously thinking of these things that you want first and foremost.
So I'm a student of Carl Jung. Carl Jung speaks to synchronicity. He's always, there are no coincidences. A lot of people say that they call them God incidences, but God incidences are in fact synchronicities. When things and people, places, and things happen or come into your life, they're all for a bigger meaning that was planned. Like we have these serendipitous moments that we like look back on and there's more clarity. Oh my God, that changed my life. Oh my God, I was wanting that. Oh my God, I wanted to actually experience that. So, you know, when you're saying that before, you think that they are like happy accidents, right? But now the difference is that you intend or you manifest. So how, in fact, has it changed since you changed your perspective?
I think it, you know, the biggest thing is I think there's no limit to I think we can have everything that we want. Maybe not all at the same time, but we can have everything we want. I really think there's no possibilities. There's nothing that's within our reach, that's outside of our reach now. You know, human potential is limitless now. And I think that's the biggest thing, the biggest paradigm shift for me is just that realization that it's a giant choose your own adventure. I'm a little of a nerd. And so for those out there, I used to play RPGs, role-playing games, and, you know, like Final Fantasies, the Legend of Zeldas. And in those games, there wasn't just one way that you could walk. Now, you had to fight the boss eventually, but there's many different side quests that you can get lost on. And so I would stay up all night playing these things when I should probably be studying. And it takes a long time. But the moral of that story is that there's not just one way that we can live this life.
Yeah.
And that goes back to the topic here of being conscious.
Yeah. You know, I love that you said that you played Zelda. I used to read those books that you get to choose your own adventure by choosing, you know, which direction. If you pick that you're going this way, go to page whatever. Zelda's kind of like that as well, correct? I never played it myself, but it also takes you into that whole idea of, you get to choose. And Mike Spatola says it takes courage to manifest, and even more courage to accept the fact that we are manifesting. So your energy and your enthusiasm is shining through, Julian, right now. Let's go on. So as far as your journey, I know that you had said that you went to medical school. You wanted to be a doctor. So what happened around that and what changed?
So this is, health has always been interesting to me ever since probably freshman year of college. And so I thought it's physical therapy. I wanted to do more. I'm not going to lie. The TV show House was really popular then. I thought it would be really cool I wanted to be like House. But
explain for everybody what House is, because there's some people who don't watch the show. So what was House?
So House MD is a TV show. It has maybe 6 or 7, I think 7 seasons, and it's a doctor who's he's a little antisocial, but he's a genius. And in this world, there is no specialties or anything for House. House knows everything. And he has all the most complicated cases. And I looked at that and I was like, oh man, this is so interesting. This is so interesting. I want to be this. But that's not really how medical stuff works in real life. I mean, but TV shows has really influenced me. My undergrad, me and my friend, we picked our majors off of movies, and we thought it would be cool I wanted to work in like GQ or somewhere like that and just be an idea guy and just give ideas. And marketing and advertising is not like that. So, but I picked my major off of that. But before I get off script here and just start going on a tangent, back to the medical school. And so when I was in medical school in New York is a lot different than Tennessee. I'm from Nashville, Tennessee. Pace of life is a little slower here. The people are nicer. I'm sorry, New York people. The people are much nicer here, but I love New York people. I love New York people. The energy is great. But when I was in New York, I met so many people that were chasing their dreams. People wanted to be an actress, an actor. They're doing a startup. Everybody has a story. Nobody's just at this coffee shop just to have a cup of coffee. It seemed like everyone had a story of a dream that they're pursuing. And I felt that energy and that love in there. And school's pretty easy for me. You show up, you take some information in a few weeks, you take a test, and then you keep moving on. Rinse and repeat, just like that.
Well, I just want to stop you. You actually went to medical school. You got into medical school, which is not an easy task. So clearly you had the grades and you had the skill and you had the ability to be accepted into the program. So the fact of the matter is, yeah, you're smart. Okay, we know that. So go on.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But I will tell you, I had to kind of sneak my way in there a little bit. And luckily, I'm a pretty good storyteller. So that helped as well. And so that's for those out there who may not can get in the traditional path. There's always a way in the side where there's other attributes. See, where I lacked, maybe my GPA wasn't the highest, I was also more interesting than a lot of my other applicants who just had their nose in a book. I had stories to tell. So, but back to that. So when I was in New York, I always, even before then, I always had a sense that there's a bigger adventure out there for me. Like, I don't think this is right. College, you're just following a path. I'm not so sure of myself. I'm first generation, so it was really awesome that my parents gave me the opportunity to put me in school. And so I really wanted to cherish that and to do something with that. But deep inside, I just didn't know. I just didn't know. I have an underdeveloped 20-year-old brain. So, but when I'm in New York, I remember this specifically. I'm in the Lower East Side at the Yucca Bar, and there's a girl there. Very attractive.
It's always a girl.
It's very attractive. Initially, I did want to hit on her and find out she's single and everything. But during that time, she's talking and she's talking about her job. And so she's doing something of a passion, but she's also doing it in a way that is congruent and coherent with her life. And I was like, oof, oh my goodness.
Oh my God.
That stopped me so much that I forgot to ask for numbers or anything. I was like, oh my goodness. I got to, oh my goodness, and I got to figure this out. And so I finished out that semester, but during the anatomy exam, classmates are looking up, sweating, like, oh my God, this exam's hard. I'm thinking, oh my God, this ain't the right thing for me.
Yeah.
So I loved health, but I didn't necessarily love the idea of being a doctor, but I loved the idea of health still. So I knew that that's where I belong. I just didn't think this vehicle was the right one for me to be in. And that's what led to the transition to not do that. Because I've always loved writing and the arts and stuff, but I stayed more in like my jock role, and that's more comfortable for me. But I always loved that. But that little spark right there really just lit the match and just really got my brain thinking. And then this is an example of manifesting, which I didn't know at the time. I start seeing other fitness people, health people who were kind of doing something that I wanted to do, which was they were writing some, they were working with other people, and then I had a lot of other side things that they were doing as well. And I just didn't put two and two together. But now, since we talked about that tonight, I was like, I was manifesting to like somebody show me the way or something of what this looks like. And boom, it shows up on the internet.
Well, I think that the attention had to be grabbed by an attractive female. So that got your attention. And once it got your attention, you started listening, which is really kind of cool, I must say. One of the cool things I find about life is that, we get what we're looking for. And I think a lot of the quotes, which I love that you put this one, I love Tina, one of the quotes, that we look and we read, like I looked to Mary Oliver, you gave me Tina Turner, which, yeah, proud Mary, baby. Don't wait until you think you're good enough at doing something new before you venture into uncharted territory. If we all waited until we thought we had enough talent to tackle a new challenge, nothing would ever get accomplished. So he's saying, Mike Spatola is saying, apparently the lightning bolt happened that he hopes you gave a gift to that young lady.
I've never seen that lady again. I wish I did, because I talk about her in a lot of stories. Like never saw her again, and it was just that sometimes people come in your life for a moment. Some people some people are here for one season. And then some people are like on a TV show where they're just signed for like a 2 to 3 role for an episode, and then they're gone for the rest of the season.
Oh my God, I love that you compare life to a TV season or a movie. So tell me a little bit about Tina and why this impacted you, because clearly you didn't wait until you were a pro at, your new future after you left medical school.
Well, one, she's from Tennessee, so whoop, whoop, so we got to shout out there. But I was always just curious of what she went through with Ike and escaping that. Like, there was a gap there of like, how did you do this? She had to reinvent herself. She was part of a group, and then she had to reinvent herself. And I believe she was either in her late 30s or early 40s when she started to rebuild that solo career. And that's what really led to the curiosity with her. And then she also introduced Nichiren Buddhism, which she credits a lot. So that's why I just really liked her. And then I watched interviews of her, and I just like her vibe. She's just really cool. I like her music. Yeah, she breaks a lot of different molds. And so I just, I don't know. It just attracted me to her. And so I love Tina Turner.
Well, moving on to this, I'm committed but detached. I'm flexible but focused. I'm agile but relentless. Tell me about what this means, as far as your vision for your future with your company and with your clients, to be quite honest.
This is really something that I think about when I'm going for goals, whether it's a professional goal or whether it's a fitness goal or a running goal. It's to not just be too clingy. We hear the word, don't be so clingy, man. Give it some space, because I think you got to let the goals, you got to let it breathe a little bit. You don't want to just suffocate it. You know how when people are always under us and we can't breathe, you're just like, man, give me some space.
Yeah. And so I love that. Yeah.
And so, and life's also a duality. And so those things are all opposite of each other. There's commitment. Yes. But you also have to be detached from it as well. You need to be flexible, but you still got to stay focused and don't get too loose with it. You got to be agile to be flexible with your vision, but you still got to be dialed in and relentless with it every single day.
That's amazing. And you reflected on Buddhism, I think, twice before we got on live. And then also you told me right now with Tina Turner that impacted you. Is that something that's influenced your life as well as you move forward?
I don't know. I think I read the books. It just makes sense.
Yeah.
Especially over the last year. My curiosity, which I think is one of my strong suits and one of my traits that I really cherish, I just read things. Even if I I don't know anything about it. I read stuff even if I don't agree with it sometimes. I just like to know all sides because it feels like it gives me a superpower that when I step into the ring, you can't surprise me because I've already thought about all types of angles. And I looked at different history books and war generals, and some of the best war generals, they thought 10 to 15 steps ahead. Or you could just think of this as being a chess grandmaster. They're 15 moves ahead. Now, I'm not that good just yet. I'm getting there. I'm getting there to where I can be 15 moves ahead.
Yeah.
But the point being is just don't discriminate against information. Everything that comes into your world, there's a lesson in that.
I love that. That's amazing. Don't discriminate against information. Everything is a lesson. And, you know, we have an author on right now, so they're liking the fact that you read everything and that you're open and curious. Pam is one of my fellow authors in my cohort, and you're also an author. I love that. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your title of your first book that you have written already?
Yeah, it's called Body Architect. I don't really have an elaborate story. I just like the word architect. I like architecture, and somebody's like, just put body in it, and there we go. And then the publishers helped a little bit with the rest of it. And it's really like, if I'm thinking of this like I'm building out a world. So I see Julian in the future with multiple books. Well, we got to start at ground zero. So before we get to the stuff I currently do now, we got to start at the very beginning. So I really thought about myself when I first started working out. What would I want to know? So it's like a fitness origin story, just to get people into the fitness mode. And then because there's levels to fitness that I in my head. I think there's a level to me now, fitness is much more than just physical. Yes, I like to have muscles and all that good stuff, but there's a lot of spiritual aspects now when I run. There's a lot of emotion and mental clarity that comes from it as well. So there's more of a transcendence now with fitness, but this is much more practical, and this is just to get you going.
Okay, so I have to ask you, if someone's starting out, like they say the journey of 1,000 miles or 1,000,000 miles begins with the first step, right? So you're not where you want. You like imagine, you said Julian of 5 years from now, but like say this is me today, and I'm accepting where I am today. Like, how do you get yourself into that mindset of manifesting, even the physical sense, and then so you step into, is there a spiritual tool that you use that will shift someone from this is not going to happen, I'm so out of shape, I can't even stand it, to okay, I can walk, okay, I can swim, or okay, I can do this? So what is it that you would teach some elite professional or entrepreneur who's like, I want to rev this up, I really, really have a need to be my own body architect? While I'm not Michelangelo, maybe I'll be, or whatever, you want to call that. What is that like wonderful tool or advice that you can give so that people will start where they are?
Yeah, I like to take a trip to the future, and I always know where I'm going. So have the standard that you're going toward, the final standard that you want. So every single day I have a folder that I read of standards. I'm so far away from it right now. That's exciting though, because I know where I'm going. So once I immerse myself in the macro, I need to come with the micro now, and that's today, because I have to realize that my future, all that depends on what I do today. So that's all I can do right now. So I just focus on winning today. What do I need to do today to win today? And
so it's really it's like the whole Buddhist mentality of being present momenting, like just staying there. That's so awesome. So your standard, so you set your standard which is your macro, right? And then you get to be the micro. What can I do today to get me to where I want to go? At least start me out, right?
And the good thing is you can also change your past. And that might sound kind of weird. It's like, how can you change the past? Well, you can change the past by doing something today and taking control of this hour. And then as that goes, that is your new past now. So even if you weren't a person that was disciplined with fitness or with eating or anything, you made one decision right now. You say you had your smoothie this morning. You just changed your past because that smoothie is now ingested, and that's the past now because you're moving forward. Time has moved forward. And so now you just changed your past, and now you're a person now who does do healthy habits because you just changed it.
And, you know, this Rumi quote kind of plays into that, where it says, always remember you're braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, smarter than you think, and twice as beautiful as you'd imagine. Yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I am wise, so I'm changing myself. So it all starts off with that decision to say, you know, I'm going to do something today, change the energy, the whatever I ingest. And I love that you're saying that. And Mike Spatola is saying, I applaud you for your curiosity, that you're not ever going to lose that zest for continuous learning. It's the perspective that fitness is much more than merely physical. And I think that's really important because, you know, you can do so much more than you even imagine. You just have to sometimes get out of your head. What is it that you think about that? I mean, with regard to that, the spiritual component of this.
Absolutely. It all starts, you know, I say the word superhuman a lot. And
tell us what that means to you, because people say superhuman. I say I'm Wonder Woman. I was called Mujer Maravillosa in the cab once, and I think I'll hold on to that for the rest of my life. But tell us what superhuman means to you.
Yeah, well, there's a certain narrative when we think about health, when we think about aging. Like there's certain cornerstones, certain milestones that we talk about. So, you know, most people think their best years are in their 20s. Most people think aging is something that has to happen. I don't really think that. I think that's what the average human thinks. And so I can't deal with being average. And so superhuman to me is becoming emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually superior to the average human. That might sound like rah, because it's you know,
you're saying how old is Julian right about now? That's what they're asking. How old is Julian?
So let's say, what is it? How old am I? I always see, I forget because age is relevant, but chronologically, my birth certificate will indicate I'm 34 right now.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
No,
but
I want to hear the
rest. but you know, and so for me, it's to be superior to what people think of the average human, because there's so much more to us. And so I want you to think I can crush what people think is just, you know, what average humans can do. You know, we're so much more than that. You know, I think about how many people it took to get me here to this exact moment. Like I'm so powerful. Like, I have so many people backing me, and there's nothing I can do. And so that's, to me, in a nutshell, is what superhuman is being all about. Superhuman is, you know, changing poison into medicine. Superhuman is standing up and standing for your values and superhuman is sticking with your vision, sticking with a goal where it's 0% done right now. And so many people around you are like, what are you doing? Like, I can't believe you did that. You really think this is going to work? Maybe you should start being realistic. And you're sticking to your guns when nobody else can see what you're seeing. That's part of being superhuman.
Love that. I love, you know, so in your mind, you are this superstar, superhuman, whatever you want to call it. I love how you said, I am so powerful. And, you know, the bottom line is that we are very powerful. We just don't allow ourselves to embrace that notion, because many times we get stuck into what you're saying, you know. And interestingly enough, that you're, you know, a big TV watcher, and a lot of what the TV's feed the world, right, especially if you're watching the news, is that, you know, you're not enough, or you might want to be this because you're not this, and this is what, you know, everybody wants to be. So I love that Nas is a part of the show, because if everyone knows, tell everyone who Nas is first of all, right?
Yeah.
Who is Nas? And I love music, so I'm all over that.
Yeah. So he's a rapper who I think doesn't get enough of credit for his gifts to the world. And so just in a nutshell, so he's a rapper that really needs to be cherished a lot more.
So what does this mean that he says needing nothing attracts everything?
Yeah, I listen to this every time I run. It was on the Creed soundtrack, and
okay, so everybody go listen to the song by Nas on the Creed soundtrack. Needing nothing attracts everything.
Oh well, that's part of the lyrics. I think the song is called Check, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
But I think that a lot of times when we're thinking about energy, you notice that when you really just keep wanting, you don't get it. And I just think like you're kind of repelling in a sense, because when you say I just want, I want, you're kind of saying that I don't have this already. When really I think you have it already. Or this is what I tell myself, I have it already, and I'm just letting time catch up to my consciousness right now.
I like that.
So, but I like this because when you don't need anything, like when you don't need the approval or you don't need the big deal, or you don't even need like the six-pack abs or whatever, those things are great and you do want them. But when you say I'm good right now, I'm still capable right now, no matter what, I think that tracks everything. Because I think there's this sense that people can kind of feel someone who's a little needy. For all my LinkedIn people, this is the easiest way to think about it. For all my LinkedIn people out there, you get those messages from people. You're like, oh, this person wants to genuinely connect with me. He looks like he looks like a nice person. Let's connect. Come on board. So you click accept. And then you just start a timer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bam, you get hit with the pitch. And this is not even like, hey, how's it going pitch, or hey, you need my services. This is like a love letter in a sense, without any love that they send you. And you're like, wow, this person is really needy. You're like, wow, it feels kind of gross. And that's kind of what I think about someone who's just always needy. And it's like, you just got to let it breathe. Let your goals breathe. Put it out there. By you knowing what you want, that's all you needed to do. Now you got to start acting as if
you
already have those goals.
My favorite. Another thing. Act as if. It's a great perspective shifter. So keep going. I'm loving this.
So that was a lesson that was taught to me maybe even just a few months ago. But when he reminded me that, do you know what you want? That's the first thing he asked me. Do you know what you want? I was like, yes, I want X and X and X. Yeah. He's like, great. You already have it. It's already out there. Time is going to catch up to your consciousness. Now, the most important part, that this doesn't mean be lazy and just prop your feet up and don't do the work.
Yeah.
Now you act as if you step into that role. So how does that Julian that has these things, how does he act? I was like, oh, okay, I got it. So my eyes get really big then. Yeah. I was like, oh, okay. And so that's the thing when I think about this quote.
So, there's a real good tenet, a strong tenet in positive psychology that says, when you're feeling, really low or depressed, or, you're just not where you want to be, that if you act as if, and literally they say, if you need to put a tiara on or something that's going to make you feel like your best suit, that you feel so good that you're out there and you feel like money, like your money, then when you go out in the world, you're going to attract the abundance that you're putting out there because you're acting as if it's already there, which I love how you said that. So this one is do it for the intention, not the attention, which explain that to us a little bit for those who don't understand what intention is.
Yeah, well, first I have to give a shout out to my friend Malcolm. He came up with this. He's a rapper, so he always drops these good bars, as we call them. So salute to him.
But is this the bars of his songs then? Is that what you're telling me?
I don't even know. We were just talking over coffee one day and he said this. I was like, oh, hold on. Let me type this in my phone. I told him I'm going to ethically steal this because I love it.
You're getting recognized ethically. But that's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
so go ahead.
I love this because for me, this really holds a strong bearing in terms of there are so many things we could do from a business sense, from the way that we conduct business, from the way that we can go about social media. And we know that if we do certain things, we say certain trigger words, we talk about certain events that we're going to boost engagement. Yes. We're going to get so many likes and comments that are going to come our way. If you do these types of funnels, or if you say this stuff, do these kind of upsells and all this stuff, that it's going to come. And it just didn't feel congruent to me. It felt like I was just going out trying to get attention. Now, I love attention. I'm an only child. I love it. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I love attention more, just like anyone else. I really love it. But I do have values. I do have principles that I have to stand by. Because if I lose those, then I've lost everything. Because you can take everything away from me, but you can't take my principles and values. So this here means, are you doing things for the attention of others, for their approval, for their praise, for what you think you should do? Or are you doing things solely for the sake of doing it because you feel called to do it and because it's in coherence with how you want to go about your life? So that's why this holds such a dear place in my heart, because I wrestle with it, because I'm like, I know if I talk certain ways about fitness, if I start talking more about fear, if I just start talking about fitness kind of like the news talks about health, I'm going to really boost my engagement. But I don't want that kind of energy to come with me. People that are coming to me, people that want to listen to me because they're scared. I can't take that energy, because then that makes me skittish and anxious. And I can't have that. So that's what I look at this every single morning. Do it for the intention, not the attention, no matter what the metrics. I don't care about the metrics.
Well, you know, it's really interesting though, because I'm sure that, you know, if you're doing it for the intention, which is really what we all, you know, if we get intentional about our lives, then it starts to be one of these games that, you know, you seem to like Zelda, right? Like you turn the page and choose your adventure. And that really becomes the focus, is choosing your adventure. And if it's for the attention, and how you get attention is by being, you know, like the creep factor, you're like, well, this is not who you want to be. You certainly don't feel good at the end of the day. And that's not like, I don't want to scare people into working with me. I'd rather people be enthused or ready to wake up to a world of possibilities. And that's what I can help shift them. But you're right. You're so right. So when you become intentional, then everything that comes from that place on is just going to be pure magic in your life. It's always going to be something wonderful. So it goes back to the whole quote that we were talking about: pay attention, be astonished, tell all about it. And then we become the greatest storytellers of what we want to tell, the stories we want to tell about our lives. And I know that your story is still being written. All of our stories are still being written. And I love the fact that, you know, Malcolm is going to be writing songs like this, because that's many people, because you know what, people want to be inspired, especially after a year of drama. They want to be inspired. So in that vein, how are you like starting a different conversation around inspiration in your business and in your life right now in Nashville, Tennessee?
Yeah, I think starting a different conversation is just, well, one, it's leading first and foremost. So it's showing up differently than what I would typically show up. It's maybe bringing more lightheartedness, bringing more certainty and hope to the situation, because that's something that a lot of people need right now. I think I feel that they need right now is some optimism that, hey, things are going to be okay. This place, this earth and everything, it's been here a long time. Us humans, we've been through some stuff, to say the least. And if our genes weren't strong enough, we wouldn't be here. But so the fact that we are here shows that our genes are resilient to be carried on from generation to generation.
Resilient, I like that. And I think resilience is something that becomes really a superpower as well. Like you were speaking before, the superhuman, this resilience, this I'm going to show up and I'm going to keep trying and never give up. I'm going to persevere until it's the end of my days. And turning to that, this is what I believe makes extraordinary people extraordinary, right? Is because they don't give up. They persevere with their dreams. They show up. They say, why not me? They act as if, everything that you're speaking to. So, when you embrace this path that you took, starting off your beautiful, you're a CEO of a fitness company, helping people who, may have felt like this is not how I want to live. I want something else. I want that you come into the fore and you teach them about epigenetics. And what in God's name is epigenetics? You told me this already, but I'm sure, if anyone comes to you and says, oh, that's what you do, I have no idea what you do. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, simply put, I guess a more formal way to look at it is that when you hear epi, that means above the gene. So it's just above the gene. And in a nutshell, it's basically, let's think of a story. Let's talk about the bee. Let's talk about the queen bee here. We all know the queen bee. We have all these little worker bees and the queen bee. How does the queen bee become the queen herself? And it's really just through the royal jelly. So it's a special type of diet and like a different type of cocoon that she lives in. Yeah. And that's it. Those two things separate her from the worker bees. Now, all of the bees, they have the same DNA. That doesn't change. So my DNA is never going to change. But
I like this.
The inputs that I put into my system, which here is my human body, that can influence whether certain genes will turn on or turn off.
Right.
So you're essentially kind of performing some alchemy here. Is a great way to look at it. And just because
everyone what alchemy is, because that too may be a very complicated word. I go ahead.
Yeah. I guess the way I think of alchemy is just performing magic. You're performing magic, or you're influencing something to your liking, and people might say, how did you do this? And it might be hard to see with the eye initially.
Yeah.
Is that you think that's a good way to describe alchemy?
I think, alchemy is, when someone works with, it's kind of like, the abracadabra effect.
Mm-hmm.
They work with metals or alloys and they turn something into gold, right? Because gold was very valuable back in the day and still is, right? So the alchemy is inserting some kind of energy that will change the actual underpinnings, like you were saying, of something from, nothing to amazing, right? Your epigenetic kind of things. It depends on what she's the royal jelly, right? It's like the royal jelly. You put the royal jelly in and you get this wonderful, Julian fabulousness or Meg fabulousness, right?
But yeah, a big idea just for listeners and viewers to take away is that the genes you have don't necessarily have to be your destiny. We hear a lot of these, we've heard this a lot, that losing weight is difficult in my family, or such and such illness runs in my family. That might be true, but it's really just a propensity. That's it. It's not an absolute, because depending on the types of foods you eat, the way you exercise, quality sleep, even the way you breathe, the environment that you're in, the way you talk to yourself, all these things matter in the big picture when it comes to upgrading your entire human system.
Yeah, I like that.
And so you are in the driver's seat. So for me, there are certain illnesses that do run in my family. I looked at my genetic report and it shows that I have a high propensity. But the key word is propensity, not destiny, not absolute, but just propensity. So if my diet or something falls off the rails, then that's most likely the first thing that I'm going to experience difficulty with.
Yeah.
But if I eat appropriately, I can easily mitigate it, and it's a non-issue. And so that's the thing when it comes to epigenetics in a nutshell.
Well, I think, what you said before was like acceptance of where you are, and then the reality that you're not doomed to failure, right? Because if you believe that, that's where you're going, right? If you feel like, oh my God, you know.
And that's a big part. Our mind's a big part. And, meditating can actually is epigenetically beneficial in turning on beneficial genes for us and helping us with our health span, our lifespan, and our wealth span. So everything matters. Everything is connected. A lot of times we speak of health in general as if it's in silos. Everything's just cut off from each other. But really, it's like us in the middle here, and we have all these little strings that are just attached to us.
Yeah.
And they all, it's like a what's that thing called?
A marionette. A marionette.
Yes. And you can just pull those things. So doing one thing here is going to affect these other 5 things. And we have to keep that in mind, that this is a system here.
Yeah. I have to remember that at 8:00 at night, when I'm usually working late and writing, that it's not good for me to eat something, because there's really no point. I don't need the energy, to nuts on something. And it's just nervous. So if I keep reevaluating that, then tomorrow morning, I'm going to feel like crap. So the marionette goes this way, goes this way. So just keeping in mind that everything impacts everything else. I love that you said that. And, one of the things I wanted to reiterate with regard to you is that you have tools that you've manifested to get you to where you are at this point in your life that really do make you extraordinary, because, you chose to go to medical school, and then you chose not to stay in medical school, so that you chose another path. And you're not like saying that I had to stay. You're like, you gave yourself the ability to make another choice, because you were curious enough to see what it was. You wanted to be house, but it's not house in medical school the same way that you thought it was. So you actually refocused and recreated the journey for you. So I think that, one of the really cool things about the show that I like to bring out are those incredible tools that you use for your own life that help you manifest, your future, like you said, your 5-year, your macro, your standards. And I think I wanted to ask you that, first of all, before we start, like, what will in fact move you forward on this journey? Like, what is one of the things that you can certainly grab onto when you need the best, escape velocity to get yourself going and to put your manifesting on steroids?
I think it's kind of to remember to start playing more, not being so serious. not being.
Oh, I
Yeah,
love that you said that. I love
that even feels weird to still say, because I guess I get we get so like lasered in with our goals and everything, and we get so serious, but we have to just remember that, you know, it's kind of a game, really. It's really just kind of a game.
It's Zelda.
And it's not that bad. Whatever most times that you're going through, it's tough in the moment, but it's oftentimes just not that bad. And also, it's to also remember that we can have sometimes. I've been around people who have been sick, and they have one wish, and that's for health, and they're so grateful for that. You know, I think about my father, and as he was learning to walk again with his prosthetic, he had one wish: to feel better again and to start walking again, and to not have his son take him everywhere, because he was getting tired of listening to me talk on different monologues. And I think about us, we kind of take the small things in life for granted. We have 1,000 wishes. I think that's part of a quote or something. So don't, but we have 1,000 wishes. And so we just kind of need to slow down a little bit and just really soak in the moment and the gifts that it's an opportunity that we can even go pursue a lot of these goals we have, because 1 or 2 generations back, a lot of us couldn't do what we're doing right now, or there would have been like 10,000 other steps to even get to the position to have the opportunity. So that's, in a nutshell, that was a little winded, but that's kind of like the next evolution.
I do like the fact that we have 1,000 or a million wishes, because that whole striving for that curiosity for, life, it's just life. It's like we're alive, and if as long as we can, right, to experience, your father, it's funny that you were saying that your father just didn't want you to be carrying you around, but the fact of the matter is you had that time together. You had that special time together where you were able to serve him as he probably served you growing up. So, those moments still mean something. And the whole bottom line is that when you're living or paying attention or living this consciousness, this awareness, the reality is, like what you're saying, what moves you forward is just, putting one step and one foot in front of the other and striving for. But also being grateful for the blessings that you have, which you were saying. I guess it's that duality you were speaking about before. So, as we prioritize this next decade of our lives, or this moment, it's funny because depending on how I wake up in the morning, and I guess it's depending on how I sleep at night, I know sleep is so important. I am like a different person on the days that I get, whatever my body needs, my body. I have now gotten to the point where I'm like, if I wake up, that's what my body needs. I don't even argue with it, because there's no point in shaming a person for not sleeping as amount of time that you want to. But the bottom line is that, when you put your feet on the floor, I know for me, I'm reinforcing the whole gratitude notion, like being grateful for this time with you tonight, being grateful that I get to share your information with as many people as I can throw it out there, So I think that, when you talk about like the whole alignment of the story that you want to tell, for you, manifesting that, what is the story that you want to tell the world now?
Yeah, it's curiosity, stay curious and be adventurous. And kind of and to do those things, you really need to have as optimal health as you possibly can. So that's really what it's using, our health, really transcending that health, so we can have our greatest and biggest adventures and make the biggest impact.
I love that. And anyone who's in Nashville or anywhere that matter, because you're like all over the globe, right? You can be.
Yeah, it's mostly online. Yeah, it's mostly online. Yeah.
So he has the Art of Fitness and Life. This is his logo. It's tell me a little bit about your logo, because it's super cool.
Yeah, my friend Mike did this years ago, and I gave him a few ideas, and I just told him it had to be black and white. Black and white is just like classic and everything. I just love it. It's classic, but it can also be a little mysterious. And then I read a little bit on what colors, the kind of feelings they give, and black and white kind of matches my mood and everything. And so, but then somebody told me that, if you get more vibrant colors, it's more energy. And I was like, I don't want to hear that. I'm doing this for the intention, not the intention, man. That's what I told him. I didn't tell him Denver. That's what I was living it.
Malcolm. Woo, Malcolm.
But yeah, I like the name things that say the art of. And so I was like, fitness and life. I was like, and then I checked the domain, it's there. And then I said, the art of fitness and life, the art of fitness and life. Yeah. It's like, it sounds good. I think it sounds good. And so, and then, he did the logos and everything. I was like, oh, wow, this is really good. And I trust people, when they decide to work with them to get the logo made, give them a little idea, but then I want them to kind of work their magic. And this goes back to the whole thing of like, I chose you and I trust you. And let's just see what happens. I know it's going to be good because I told myself it's going to be good.
Yeah. But act as if it's going to be good for sure.
Yeah. And I also do think that, it doesn't matter what the level that your fitness is at. There's parallels with life, and it's fairly similar. Being successful in fitness, being successful in life, however that looks to you, we have different canvases of what that success looks like. Yeah. But the core fundamentals of both those things are the same. Yeah. And they intertwine oftentimes. A lot of times people don't have fitness problems or even food problems. It's usually life problems. Something in life is causing that issue with food. For instance, there's some people, when they get stressed from whatever, they might eat more. People like me, they just don't eat. Sounds like a good problem, right? But then you can get sick, you can weaken your immune system, you have low energy. So each side has their pluses and minuses, right. in how you act to stress. But it wasn't. But the whole thing, though, it wasn't that it was a food problem. It was that something else is causing that problem. So often the cause is from life, but the symptom just might show up in health. But the cause is something in life. Yeah.
So the cause and the effect, I like that the whole, you were saying before, that whole duality, it has more of an interplay than we can even imagine. So I want to make sure that, your message to the world comes out. And I love that, you had an intention for tonight. So tell me about your intention for this interview tonight. At the outset when we began.
Yeah, it was just to inspire at least one person to start changing their poison and turning it into medicine.
I love that. So for you, changing poison into medicine means what?
It's taking situations that are tough, sometimes sad. I'll give you an example. My father passed last April. That's a lot of poison. It was really a tough pill to swallow. And just through this whole year or almost year, it's been tough still, but time's not going to reverse. Mm-hmm. I'm not the Flash or anything, so I can't do that. And it's not going to slow down just because I want it to. So I have a choice to make here in this moment, and I can take that anger that I feel still, and I can turn it into a positive. I could turn that into some medicine and find a way to make sense of it and propel myself in life, and even take the lessons to good from him and help other people with it as well. Wow. And that's the same thing with a lot of situations that that I guess I personally have experienced and just seen in others, that sometimes things don't work out as quick as you want them to. And there's a lesson there. It sucks in the moment. The poison can get a little strong. It can keep us on the bed for a while. It can have us in a box of cookies. It can have us crying. It can do a lot of things. But if we wake up the next day, we're breathing, we still have an opportunity that day to start making some medicine and adding more medicine into us and getting some of that poison out.
Yeah, I love that. And I know that it's coming up on your year in April. And for me, it'll be 10 years. I lost my mother this April 12th for me. I know it was April 10th for you.
Yeah.
I always like to believe like these certain synchronicities that, you're on the path much sooner than I was. I waited around in the poison of grief, I think, but the processing really is the same. I think that, everyone has to honor their process. So like you said, sometimes you're in the bed with the poison a little longer than, really you might want.
Yeah. And I think it's, and you mentioned that we grieve it differently. And for me, I try to immediately just ramp up all my activity and just like this, I'm going to get to work. Cause I wasn't, a lot of my activities were reduced because I was in a caretaker role for those past few years. And I was just like, okay, guess I have an open void now. Let's just ramp everything up. Let's just get to work.
Yeah.
And I was avoiding feelings.
Yeah.
And there was a reason. I just couldn't figure it out. I was like, man, like my thinking's not that good. Or like I'm working, but I don't know what I just got done. I don't think I got anything done. I think I'm just sitting here at a desk. And I'm so easily distractible. Yeah. And I just had all this stuff in my mind. And I really needed to just take a breather and process with my mom all this stuff that went on the last 3 years. Because it was like an thriller that had no points in the movie where there was a break. It's just nonstop action scene after action scene.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you're just always hiding. I couldn't rest. I'm always tensed up. I felt like I was back in New York again, where I'm always just like this. I needed to just calm down and just let myself breathe and recover. Because this is what I would tell a client or anyone, that part of peak performance, part of being superhuman is to, yes, push yourself, push your boundaries, take a few extra steps further than you think you can. But also you have to dial it back to allow that rest and recovery, because then you can be stronger for the next day, and you just keep repeating. And so I wasn't following my own advice there. And so it took me, the last few months, maybe the last 2 months or so, I'm starting to feel a lot more sharper now, a lot more happier. It's easier for me to smile and not fake smile. And so, yeah.
Well, Nick Christine's saying that she's going through the similar situation and finding that she's wanting to be more busy as she waits for answers and she hears you. Mm-hmm. And I think that, interestingly, the whole honoring the process is quite important, because in many respects, when you numb yourself out, you're not honoring it. So then you're making more problems because you're not dealing with the cause underneath. Yeah.
And it always comes back and gets you. You can only run. I could run far. I could run pretty fast.
Yeah.
Eventually I'm going to get tired, and it's going to catch me. And it always catches you at the worst time, typically, when you don't want it to catch you. You might have something big coming up, and then all of a sudden you're just flushed with a wave of emotions. And so the process, it's beautiful, but it's also ugly. And once again, duality has been a big talk tonight. And that's kind of how it is. Like, there's moments, I went to a funeral recently, and there's beautiful moments. There's a slideshow. I see my dad again. And so that brings warm memories to me. But then there's also a little somberness as well, a little longing that he's not here. But you have that beauty as well. And I think that's just kind of how life is. It's like throwing all these different emotions in a blender. And then when we wake up and go about our day, the on button's on, and they're just going everywhere.
I have to follow up on what you're saying, because I feel that this is like so on point. It's like, since you're a huge movie buff and you're a huge TV buff, I always think of my life as a play, mm-hmm. Stage left, I'm the protagonist. So I'm the one, everything's happening to me and I'm happening to it, but I'm standing in the middle, and everyone comes into scene left, right? And they're doing their thing, and it's causing, it might make me feel something, but as long as you're the observer, you're like paying attention, you're observing, then you're able to take it all in differently. And I think that's about the stillness and the meditation comes in, because, you shift to say, okay, this is way too big for me. Let me observe for a little bit so that I can process. And then maybe, I'll be astonished by virtue of, of being the observer. And then, it'll pass and we'll see. And then what kind of story is unfolding? And then you get excited about the whole details of, it's almost a year for you and you've gone from the anger, you were numbing out, you were just go, go, go. And then you can't run fast enough. You're acknowledging that, but then you're like observing it now so that you're being able to help other people. Because if you don't pay attention, your body's going to be pissed and things are going to happen because you're still getting that energy. So I love that you brought that out, and I love that you're sharing this, because for men especially, and I don't mean to say only men, but to share the emotional side of something that is impactful, that they're not strong and they're all that is clearly something that is more men need to hear. And with that, what is the insight that you picked from the book? And you put 161, so I know that there's a meaning behind that number.
Yeah, so 161 was originally the marker that I would say how long I was going to live was 161. But that's changed now. So we're raising that number a little more because I want to live a couple of different centuries. I think that'll be cool in the record books. And
you're always standards, right? You're high.
Yeah. Aim as high as you can go, and you're going to be pleasantly surprised no matter what happens, because your standards are so out there. And plus, you're doing this right when you say a goal to someone and they're like, what? Or they just look at you with a shock. They're like, that's when you're doing good.
Yeah,
that's when you're doing good.
So what is 161? What does it say?
Yeah, 161 it is all part of your amazing dance.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
And I love that. There's a sentence, I love, and as long as you make the decision not to quit, that celebration can be yours every day you open your eyes to the potential that lies ahead. I love that. I love that. Because a lot of times getting what we want really just comes down to just not quitting.
Yeah.
And just showing up. Even if it's so tough, you just do a little something every day. It's like compound interest. It's going to keep adding up.
Is the quote on that one, even when you stumble, make it part of your dance? Is that the quote that I used for that one? I don't remember which one I used for 160.
Great memory. When you stumble, make it part of the dance. I don't remember the quotes in my book. So, kudos to you.
Well, the fact of the matter is I stumble a lot, but I love to dance. So I have no problem. Sometimes I'm all like, oh my God, like, what are they going to say? I look like a fool. But I'm like, as long as I make it look like this is what I was supposed to be doing. What are you talking about? This is all me here. All me.
Yeah. See, I just learned dancing is something that is something recently picked up. I was learning to do salsa and bachata and all of that because I really wanted to change my story around being a wallflower. And I completely agree with that. If you stumble and mess up, just look like you know what you're doing. Yeah. And just like sometimes I don't know what I'm talking about, or I'm just totally winging it. But I'm speaking with conviction, and I'm making good eye contact, and I'm getting out of the situation.
I love that. And with that, that is a great inspiration, but I do want you to share. Well, first of all, before I go on, I want everyone to contact Julian if it so speaks to you, because he's amazing. theartoffitnessandlife.com is his website. It's OF fitness, FITNESS and life, LIFE.com. So go check him out. He's on LinkedIn and Twitter, the Julian Hayes, and I'll put it in the feed afterwards. But he's a great energy. His energy is contagious. It's amazing. And I am certain that he's going to have you level up your standards and your fitness and your mindset. And, you may be able to get his book, his Body Architect too. But with that, I want to turn back to you, Julian, and ask you for a final bit of inspiration tonight before we go off into the rest of March, the month of wisdom.
Yeah. I just like to think it's tomorrow can be, because it's nighttime right now. So tomorrow could be the start of the life that you want. Mm-hmm. Tomorrow can be the start of the life that you want. Whatever it is that you want. Take a few hours tonight, or just take 30 minutes. Think about one thing that you want. What's one thing that you want over the next 90 days, if you want to break it down and not get too macro? And then think of one simple action tomorrow to start taking that, and you're already on a winning streak.
All right.
And nothing is as powerful as momentum.
Oh, I like that. So everybody go out there, think of that one thing you want and start tomorrow. And for 90 days, you're on that streak. And if you want to play with Julian and me, you know, having more fun in life, then join us on a 3-day excursion to pay attention, be astonished, and tell about it, as we are looking for that something wonderful about to happen. And on Friday, contact me or Julian and let us know what it is so we can all celebrate our life of happiness and joy and intention together. And thank you once again, Malcolm. Do it for the intention, not attention. And I want to remind everybody, Butterfly Awakens comes out on September 7th, 2021. It's on pre-sale now on Amazon. I know that maybe Julian's book is still available on Amazon too.
It's there. It's waiting for when people are ready. It is sitting there.
Body Architect is waiting for you, and he is going to be writing another one because he is on his way and the momentum is there. And I want to thank you guys all tonight for showing up, being the deliberate creators of your world, getting ready to manifest, learning from this extraordinary man, Julian Hayes, as he shared with us those tidbits that make his life even that more extraordinary. And remember, we're here to be bold and be awakeners, and it is time to manifest the life of your dreams. Thank you all. I hope you all have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much again, Julian. This was wonderful.
This is fun. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this.
No, you're awesome. I'll talk to you soon. Have a good night, everybody.
All right. See you, everyone.